Hello students. So today we are going to start Julius Caesar, Act 1, Scene 2, line number 48 to 65. Today we will see line number 48 to 65. And till now I have explained till line number 47. Students, hope you all are fine and are in the best state of health. Today I have come up to you with another episode, that is video, where I will explain further to what we have already seen. That is, today we shall study Act 1, Scene 2, line number 48 to 65. As what I always do, that is, let me tell you all what exactly is there in this scene and the significance of the scene. In this scene, we see Caesar enters in procession. Glorious Caesar comes accompanied by Antony, Calpurnia, and others. He advises Antony to touch Calpurnia during his Lupercalian run so that she may be cured of her barrenness. A soothsayer warns Caesar against the ideas of March, but Caesar ignores the warning. Brutus is absent from the festival and Cassius drops out of the procession. He begins to persuade Brutus to think of the political degradation of Rome when one man, that is, Julius Caesar, was dominating over all. He asks Brutus to take the lead against Caesar's ambitious designs. He appeals to Brutus's character, patriotism, and ancestry. He starts the conspiracy by seeking the support of Brutus. By subtle flattery of Brutus and abuse of Caesar, Cassius finally prevails upon Brutus to give his assent to a plan of liberation of Rome from the autocracy of Julius Caesar. Casca returns and gives them an ironical description of Caesar's refusing the kingly crown. Cassius himself shows all his characteristics of the prime conspirator. We have already seen that the tribunes Flavius and Marullus, who belong to Pompey's party, are afraid of Caesar's increasing powers, who do have no sympathy for Julius Caesar. They rebuke the people most vehemently and chase them home. They drive them away from the street, for they do not want Julius Caesar to be shown any mark of honor. But in this scene, we shall see that Caesar's appearance close upon Flavius's words bears out rather than disprove the two tribunes' fears. Students, with masterly economy, you will notice that Shakespeare creates the atmosphere of an oriental court with fawning flatterers and cringing attendants. Well, students, before we start to study the scene, you must note down some of the points which may be drawn out from this scene. Number one, Caesar's assumption of a dictatorial role is well indicated. He is not only all powerful, but apparently all knowing. It gives motive for the conspiracy. Number two, the motive and the manner of the conspiracy are set forth, as well as the main persons concerned in it. Number three, the motive of Cassius and Brutus is made clear from the beginning itself. 4. The episode of the offer of the crown to Caesar makes the emerging conflict real and immediate. Right? Shall we start, students? Well, we see that Brutus and Cassius are there. Cassius, Right. Now let us see the text. Cassius. Then Brutus, I have much mistook your passion, by means whereof this beast of mine hath buried thoughts of great value, worthy cogitations. Tell me, good Brutus, can you see your face? Right. So let's see the meanings. Passion. See the word passion. Here lies the word passion, means feelings. Students, once again, let me remind you that I advise you to write down the meanings in the text itself. Well, passion means what? Feelings. Mistook your passion. Mistook your passion means mistaken your feelings. Mistaken your feelings. Okay. Then means whereof. Means whereof. Means whereof. In consequence of which. In consequence of which. Let's take it together. By means whereof. By means whereof means in consequence of which, as a result of which. Buried. See the word buried means concealed. Concealed in my mind. Okay. Thoughts of great value. Thoughts of great value means valuable plans and ideas. Valuable plans and ideas. Okay. Worthy cogitations. Worthy cogitations means reflections. Reflections. Okay. So cogitation means reflections. Worthy cogitations, if we take it together, means thoughts important and fit to be entertained. Again, worthy cogitations means thoughts important and fit to be entertained. Okay, by the words, thoughts of great value, worthy cogitations means mistaking Brutus's feelings he has concealed from him. The feelings and plans, that is, with regard to Julius Caesar, that he has in his mind. Can you see your face? See the line. Cassius says, can you see your face? Thus, indirectly, symbolically, Cassius prepares the ground for making his worthy cogitations known to Brutus. Okay, now let us see the lines. So, Cassius says, then Brutus, I have much mistook your passion, by means whereof this beast of mine hath buried thoughts of great value, worthy cogitations. Tell me, good Brutus, can you see your face? Okay, he says, then Brutus, I have much mistook your passion. He says, Cassius feels greatly relieved to hear the sayings of Brutus. He says, then Brutus, I have much mistook your passion. Means he says, then Brutus, I now see that I have misinterpreted your conduct. Then Brutus, I have wrongly interpreted your feelings. Cassius says, by means whereof this beast of mine, this breast of mine hath buried thoughts of great value, worthy cogitations. Right. He says, as a result, I have kept hidden in my bosom important thoughts worthy of reflection. That is, students, listen again. He says, believing you to be unfriendly, who speaks? Cassius speaks to Brutus. He says, believing you to be unfriendly, I have kept to myself thoughts of great public importance, which otherwise I would have confided to you. Thereafter, Cassius says, what he says, tell me, good Brutus, can you see your face? That is, Brutus, do you know yourself? Now just tell me, Brutus, if you can see your own face. Right. Shall we take all the lines together? Once again, Cassius, then Brutus, I have much mistook your passion, by means whereof this breast of mine hath buried thoughts of great value, worthy cogitations. Tell me, good Brutus, can you see your face? That is, Cassius feels greatly relieved to hear what Brutus said. Cassius says, I now see that I have misinterpreted your conduct. Believing you to be unfriendly, I have kept to myself thoughts of great public importance, which otherwise I would have confided to you. Brutus, do you know yourself? That is, once again, let's see. Cassius says, then Brutus, I have wrongly interpreted your feelings. As a result, I have kept hidden in my bosom important thoughts worthy of reflections. Now just tell me, Brutus, if you can see your face. Well, now Brutus replies. What he says, let us see. Brutus, no, Cassius, for the eye sees not itself, but by reflection, by some other things. Okay, by means, see the word by. By means by the aid of, by the help of. The eye, the eye sees not itself. Means, this was a familiar saying among the Elizabethans. It means the eye that sees all things, else sees not itself. This is said by Fuller. Fuller. Then by reflection. See the words by reflection. That is by a reflection in a mirror. By a reflection in a mirror. So Brutus says, no, Cassius, for the eye sees not itself, but by reflection by some other things. Brutus says, of course not, Cassius. One's eyes can see themselves only in reflection with the help of a mirror. With the help of a mirror. What Brutus says? He says, no, Cassius, the eye cannot see itself unless it sees its own image in some mirror or by means of some reflector. Let us proceed. Okay. Cassius. Cassius says, let's take the sayings of Cassius. "'Tis just, and it is very much lamented, Brutus, that you have no such mirrors as will turn your hidden worthiness into your eye, that you might see your shadow. I have heard where many of the best respect in Rome, except immortal Caesar, speaking of Brutus. Okay, and groaning underneath this age's yoke, have wished that noble Brutus had his eyes. Right. Okay. Let us take the first four lines. See, Cassius, 'tis just, and it is very much lamented, Brutus, that you have no such mirrors as will turn your hidden worthiness into your eye, that you might see your shadow. Well, as always, what we do, let us see the meanings. Okay, so just, see the word just means true, true. Is just means you are right, you are right. This short line indicates a long pause. Turn, what does it mean? Turn, see the word turn. Can you see the word turn? Means reflect. Hidden worthiness, hidden worthiness means worth of which you are unconscious, worth of which you are unconscious. Let us take this part said by Cassius. He says, you have no such mirrors as will turn your hidden worthiness into your eye. Means you have got no mirror that can make you see your inner nobility of character. Can you see the word shadow? Shadow means image, reflection. By this word, Cassius means yourself as others see you when your image is reflected in a mirror. Students, here we may refer three lines written by Sir J. Davis, year 1599. Listen very carefully. Mine eyes, which view all objects, high and far, look not into the little world of mine, nor see my face wherein they fixed are. Yes, shall I repeat? Sir J. Davis. Listen once more. Mine eyes, which view all objects, high and fair, look not into the little world of mine, nor see my face, wherein they fixed are. Right. Now let us take the lines. Cassius says, "'Tis just, and it is very much lamented, Brutus, that you have no such mirrors as will turn your hidden worthiness into your eye, that you might see your shadow." Well, Cassius says, it is perfectly true. People very much regret, people very much regret that Brutus has no such mirror or reflector as will put before his eyes his own worth, of which he seems to be unaware. What he says, Cassius says, listen once again. Cassius says, you are right, and it is regretted by all, Brutus, that you have no such means that might help you to see your own worth, that is, to see yourself as you really are. Shall we proceed, students? Cassius says, well, let's see the next line. I have heard, see the line? I have heard where many of the best respect in Rome, except immortal Caesar, speaking of Brutus, and groaning underneath this age's yoke, have wished that noble Brutus had his eyes. Okay, meanings, let's see one by one. Respect. Respect means estimation. Best respect means highly esteemed people. Students, please note down before you forget. Best respect means highly esteemed people. Then let's take it together. Many of the best respect means many among those who are best respected in Rome, except immortal Caesar. Except immortal Caesar means, students, you need to understand clearly here. Listen very carefully. With the exception Caesar, the parenthesis is bitterly sarcastic. Cassius wants to probe into Brutus's real feelings about Caesar. Here, let me quote a line said by Macmillan. Macmillan said, the ironical exception is intended to excite envy or indignation in the mind of Brutus, such as Cassius himself felt at the thought that one man was so much exalted over all the other Romans that no one could be compared with him in honor. Macmillan said, let us see once more. Students, listen very carefully. The ironical exception is intended to excite envy or indignation in the mind of Brutus, such as Cassius himself felt at the thought that one man was so much exalted over all the other Romans that no one could be compared with him in honor. The whole play depends on the nature of Caesar's influence after death, that is, of Caesarism. The epithet, therefore, highlights the extent of conspirators' failure. Okay, let's come to the meaning again. So, speaking, see the word speaking means what they speak of Brutus, right? Then, see the word yoke. Yoke means servitude and tyranny. Burdens of what? Burdens of what? Sufferings. Burdens of sufferings. Okay. Then groaning underneath this age's yoke. Groaning underneath this age's yoke means, once again, students, I would like you all to listen very carefully, as it is very necessary to understand the significance of each and every word or line, or sometimes part of a line. Listen, Cassius says, Cassius says, groaning underneath. See here, Cassius says, and groaning underneath this age's yoke. Okay, groaning underneath this age's yoke. Right. Bitterly complaining about, against the tyranny under which men of this age suffer. The Romans hated nothing so much as tyranny. It is on Caesar's tyranny that Cassius harps, and Brutus rests his whole case against Caesar. Okay, but whereas to Cassius, the danger in Caesar was an ever present threat to freedom. To Brutus, it was a dreadful possibility only. Students, see, an ancestor of Brutus had once established the Roman Republic, right? So, when now the Republic is threatened by Caesar's rise to power, it is to Brutus that the Romans look for deliverance. They wish that Brutus could only know how great and noble he really is. Such is Cassius's nicely worded feeler, and students, it succeeds. Students, it succeeds. Cassius is the adroit politician who can suit his words to occasion, circumstance, and necessity. Okay, let's come back to the meaning again. Had his eyes means was not blind, but realized the situation and his duty to the republic. Right. Shall we take the last four lines? Cassius says, let us see. I have heard where many of the best respect in Rome, except immortal Caesar, speaking of Brutus, and groaning underneath this age's yoke, have wished that noble Brutus had his eyes. Okay, Cassius says, see here, I have heard, I have heard where many of the best respect in Rome, except immortal Caesar, speaking of Brutus. Cassius says, I have heard how many worthy people who are held in the highest respect in Rome, except immortal Caesar, have wished what they have wished. That is, I have heard how, with the exception of immortal Caesar, many of the most respected men of Rome speak of Brutus. Speak of whom? Brutus. Let's proceed. Then, and groaning underneath this age's yoke, have wished that noble Brutus had his eyes. Okay. And they suffer under the heavy burden, under the heavy burden of this age. They have wished that Brutus had eyes to see himself as they see him. That is, they wished, in order to shake off the tyranny of the time, that Brutus could see himself and recognize his own importance at such a crisis. So, if we take all the four lines together, Cassius says, what Cassius says? See the last four lines. Cassius says, I have heard where many of the best respect in Rome, except immortal Caesar, speaking of Brutus, and groaning underneath this age's yoke, have wished that noble Brutus had his eyes. Cassius says, I have heard how, with exception of immortal Caesar, many of the most respected men of Rome speak of Brutus, as they suffer under the heavy burden of this age. They have wished that Brutus had his eyes to see himself as they see him. Now, shall we take the whole saying of Cassius? Let us see. Cassius says, "'Tis just, and it is very much lamented, Brutus, that you have no such mirrors as will turn your hidden worthiness into your eye, that you might see your shadow. I have heard where many of the best respected Rome, except immortal Caesar, speaking of Brutus, and groaning underneath this age's yoke, have wished that noble Brutus had his eyes." What Cassius says? Cassius says to Brutus, "It is perfectly true. People very much regret that Brutus has no such mirror or reflector as will put before his eyes his his worth of which he seems to be unaware." Who is unaware? Brutus. "I have heard," who says Cassius, "I have heard how many worthy people who are held in the highest respect in Rome, except immortal Caesar, have wished, in order to shake off the tyranny of the time, that Brutus could see himself and recognize his own importance at such a crisis." Students, I hope you have understood. Let's see once again. Cassius says, "You are right, and it is regretted by all that, Brutus, you have no such means that might help you to see your own worth, to see yourself as you really are. I have heard how, with the exception of immortal Caesar, many of the most respected men of Rome speak of Brutus. As they suffer under the heavy burden of this age, they have wished that Brutus had eyes to see himself as they see him." Shall we proceed, students? Okay. Brutus. "Into what dangers would you lead me, Cassius, that you would have me seek into myself for that which is not in me?" Into what dangers? See the line. Into what dangers means Brutus is alarmed, taken back, and startled. For Cassius had probed his mind more accurately than even perhaps he himself had the courage to do so. That which is not in me means the thought about this age's yoke, which are as yet not in me. Students, please note the metrical pause. It gives Cassius time to get his thoughts in order. Students, listen very carefully. See, Brutus is the first character in whom Shakespeare studied the wreckage that can be made of a man's conduct, and thereby, the attempt of subject to the traffic of public life, ideals deriving from values that cannot necessarily be carried into it. Brutus himself has an intuition of this when he pleads at the beginning with Cassius not to have me seek into myself for that which is not in me. Brutus said, "Na, Buddha said, have me seek into myself for that which is not in me. For what is in him? The clear sense of justice, the deep honorableness, the assumption that all other men's actions rest on the same spring of honor and clear vision." Here, I must quote the saying of Una Ellis, Femur. She said, "Serve not to better the state, but only to wreck it and him." Buddha says, "Into what dangers would you lead me, Cassius, that you would have me seek into myself for that which is not in me?" Buddha says, "I am afraid." Buddha speaks to Cassius. "I am afraid you are leading me into some risky affair, since you ask me to discover in myself a worthiness which is really not in me." That is, into what dangerous thought would you lead me, Cassius, that you are trying to make me find within myself which is not there in me? Okay. Students, we have completed line number 48 to 65 of Act 1, Scene 2. Once again, let me remind you all that while listening to my explanations, I would advise you all to keep the text or the textbook in your hand along with a pencil or pen. While the explanation will go on, you should go on writing the meanings or the significance of the words which we will cross. In case you miss out anything, I would advise you to rewind the audio and listen again and again so that it becomes easy for you to understand the play. In my next video, I shall move ahead with the next lines. I advise you to subscribe to my channel and press the like button and also the bell icon so that you may get the notification of the next episode. Thank you all. All the best. Jai Hind.